Welcome to April's Movement Moment. In this month's installment, we're going to be taking a look at overhead mobility. So this is overhead mobility and movement of the shoulder blade in particular, and the ability to bring the arm up into an overhead position. We're also going to be looking at a couple of breathing shapes and a couple of breathing exercises, and then finally taking a look at the link between breathing and overhead mobility. And then finally, we'll be doing an exercise at the end that wraps all of that together. So here in our first exercise, Sarah is in what we would define as a narrow child's pose position. So you'll notice that she's on her knees on the mat here, and her knees are drawn in relatively close together. And what that's doing is it's producing a block, right? Or it's preventing the expansion of her abdomen forward when she's taking an inhale. And so the result there is that it's driving pressure up into her chest and into her back. In addition to that, because of the overall orientation of the body, Sarah's creating a slight flexion or a slight rounding here in her mid-back, right? And then her arm position is really just down to what provides her with comfort and support for her upper body. So if you need to modify this a little bit by bringing your hips up a little bit more into where your upper leg is vertical, or if you need to modify your upper body position to support your upper body, that's okay too. So experiment with that a little bit. But returning back to our position, so Sarah's created a rounding here in the mid-spine, right? And that's also serving to block the front of her body and her chest as well. And so the net result of this position is that every time she breathes, she's driving pressure into her back. And we want to feel some expansion on the inhale, right? And so it should feel like her posterior ribs and her mid-spine are expanding as she breathes in, and then just gently returning back to a neutral position as she breathes out. So now we're going to take a look at the breathing exercise that we did in last month's movement moment. So this is triangle breathing. With triangle breathing, we want to do an even cadence, which means we want to do a 4 count as we breathe in. We're breathing into the back, into the mid-spine here. Then we're going to be breathing out for a count of 4. And then finally, we're going to be holding without the breath after the exhale for a count of 4. We're going to do that for a total of 2 minutes. So we're going to set a timer here, right? And you can go ahead and begin to breathe in. So you're going to have your inhalation for 2, 3, 4 into your back, and then a nice gentle exhalation for 2, 3, 4, followed by your hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale into your back for 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. And then a hold at the bottom of the breath, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to repeat that several more times on your own. Breathing in for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4. It's a little while on the mat here in this position, so make any little modifications you might need to. Shift your hips back or forward a little bit, change your arm position if you need to stay relatively comfortable. Just concentrating on keeping a good even cadence in your breath and focusing on finding that expansion in your back on the inhalation. This will be our final breath cycle here. So wherever you're at, you're going to take one more inhale, followed by an exhale, and relax. Okay, so that's our triangle breathing, and we introduced the idea there of having a block in one part of the body so that we could drive pressure preferentially into another part of the body, in this case into the back of the body, and specifically kind of into the mid-spine, the area between the shoulder blades. And that allows us, again, to direct pressure into specific parts of the body and feel the sensation and to create a stretch basically from the inside out using the breath. Now we're going to move into our second segment, and Sarah's going to stand up, and we're going to be doing some more breathing, but we're going to be doing it in a very different position. So you're going to need a wall for this exercise. So you can see Sarah has her feet probably about 6 inches away from the wall, so maybe 1 foot length away from the wall, and she's leaning back against the wall. Her glutes, her mid-spine, and even her head here are against the wall. So that's our base position. Now from here, what we want to do is we want to begin by pressing the sacrum or the low back and the lumbar spine against the wall. So you might need to make a couple little modifications with your torso in order to accomplish that. So Sarah took a little nudge away from the wall with her feet. That's going to help her to shift her body weight a little bit more kind of resolutely against the wall. You can think about having your ribs down a little bit too, which is going to help your mid-back to settle in against the wall. Okay. So from this position, what we then want to do is we're going to flex forward from the mid-spine up. So think about the shoulder blade area up. All right, so Sarah's rolled her head forward, and then she's kind of rolling down, peeling her back off against or away from the wall. You might not be able to see that really well here, but you can see where my hand is. There's this nice space here where Sarah's curved away and created a really good C shape or a nice flexion away from the wall. But she's continuing to press her lumbar spine and the top of her pelvis back into the wall. Now from this position, right, what we've done, and you can kind of see here, she's definitely closed down the front side of her body. And so it's difficult for the lungs to expand, for the diaphragm to descend. And so when you're breathing, it's going to really drive this pressure that we're creating with the breath once again into the back of the body, okay? So now we're gonna try a couple of different shoulder positions from this overall position. The first of which is Sarah's gonna raise her arms up to about a 45-degree angle away from the floor, right? And then she's going to retract the shoulder blades. So she's pulling the shoulder blades in and back, trying to bring the inside border of her shoulder blades back to her spine and continuing to maintain the curve here. Now you might have noticed that that curve unwound for her a little bit because it's incredibly difficult to do this position. So just work with it to the best of your ability, all right? And then we're breathing in this position. Now the question we want to ask is, as we became unfolded here, did we lose some of that stretching sensation in the mid-spine here in the back? Okay. So once you've taken a few breaths in that position, once again, a difficult position to achieve, but work with it as best you can. We now want to go ahead and change positions. The arm is going to stay in the same place, but now Sarah's really reaching away through her fingertips out here where the wall meets the floor in front of her. And she's now rounding once again very strongly through her mid-spine. Her shoulder blades have come away from the spine into what we call protraction. Okay, so there's a lot of space back here, a really strong rounding position, and you can see she's reinstated that curve here in the front of the body very strongly. And now once again, you should feel like you have a very strong stretching and lengthening kind of sensation in the back. Okay, so this is illustrating how protraction and retraction, or the position of the shoulder blade, has a lot to do not only with the position we can achieve with the thoracic spine, but also has a lot to do with where pressure is going here in the torso, which is very important for not only proper breathing mechanics, but also even mobility of the shoulder, which we're going to take a further look at right now. Thanks, Sarah.
All right, so in that example, we explored retraction, pulling shoulder blades together, as well as protraction, shoulder blades kind of coming away from each other. So we're going to look at shoulder blade up, shoulder blade down, but from a different position. So Andrew's going to come down into crawling, or also called quadruped. Let's start with right arm. And what we're going to do here is Andrew's going to reach out forward and then pull his right shoulder blade down, and down in this case is towards his own waist. And then he's going to continue. So we've got a little bit of daylight underneath his fingertips in the floor. And then from here, maintaining the rest of this shape, so solid on the left palm, knees and hips, he's going to start to reach the arm up, trying to get the inside of his elbow kind of next to his ear. And he's going to go as far as he can without compromising this shoulder blade position. So that might be it for him. Yep, cool. All right, then like slowly and gently come down. So that was the retracted position where the shoulder blade pulls back. And then same side, we're going to go the other direction. So we're going to go into elevation, where he's going to reach really, really far forward, trying to touch the floor way out here. And then he's going to raise up, same thing, we want to try to get that inside arm next to the head. And you can see that by letting the shoulder blade go up towards elevation, we have much more clearance in the overhead position. So let's take a look at the other side as well. So he's going to stabilize the right side, switching to left shoulder. It is worth noting, so yep, pulling the shoulder blade down in depression, and then trying to take that arm into overhead so that the inside of the arm gets next to the ear. A limited range. Cool, yep, come back down, touch base. And then same thing on the left side, we're going to elevate the shoulder blade by reaching fingertips as far forward as we can. You might get like a stretch in your armpit, and then from there you're gonna reach the arm up, really lock out the elbow as best you can. It is important to understand that different limbs are gonna present differently. So while we've shown that the elevated shoulder blade position allows for more overhead range, different sides of the body could have different ranges of motion. All right, so now we're going to combine our retraction, protraction, elevation, and depression into a quadruped shoulder blade car. In month 1, we did spinal segmentation and spinal cars. So we already know cars as a concept, which is we're going to be exploring the full range of motion that the joints have access to. And so Andrew's going to be nice and firm down here on the floor, palms really open so that his fingertips are spread nice and wide. He's got good surface area connected to the mat. Pretty much everything from the shoulder blades down is gonna stay still. And we're going to do, let's go 3 per direction here, and we're gonna start with retraction. So the shoulder blades are gonna come together, and his shirt, there's wrinkles in his shirt, there's a little valley here and 2 mountains for his shoulder blades. And then from here, we're gonna go to elevation. So he's gonna drive shoulder blades up. Yep, and note that he's not getting in his elbows at all. So his arms are gonna stay still and locked out this entire time. Yep, and then let's push through into protraction. So the shoulder blades are gonna spread apart as much as he can get there. And then we're gonna go back down into depression. So pull that away. Yeah, and depression here is gonna be the actual shoulder moving away from that ear. Okay, let's go retraction again. Good. Elevation. Good, yep, big shrug. Push down and away, keep elbows locked out. Nice, now we're gonna go protraction. Yep, and then pull down for depression. Good, we'll go 1 more this direction. Squeeze here. Good, and the better that you kind of get at this with your cadence, yep, just kind of take yourself through it, Andrew, the more fluid it will become. It is important though to truly take the shoulder blade to all those end ranges, and you can be slow. So let's try to change direction here now. So let's go elevation first. Good, and let's go retraction next. Good, and then pull down into depression. So both shoulder blades are traveling down towards waist and then pushing away into protraction. Yep, and we're trying to get shoulder blades as far away as we can from each other here. Yep, and the spine is right there. If there's a little bit involvement, that's okay. We're trying to get into the shoulders. Good, and we'll go finish up this rep. So Andrew is bound by the floor. So this is called a closed chain shoulder blade car, scapular car. But we want to make sure that those shoulder blades can move in that up, down, and front back orientation, because that allows us to get access to that overhead position, whether it's here for a mobility or for something where we're actually pressing overhead in a loaded way. So that is our April movement moment. We're going to be working on the overhead position, and we'll see you in class.